and the students that you have that are already successful. I imagine you have a couple of them, or maybe some parents that you can interview about, or moms. What I really like for your case is the moms that are worried that their kids are not going to be successful. And tap into that mom. You know what I'm talking about? The rich mom fear? Tap into that. How you doing?
How are you, sir?
Good, good.
We're getting ready for some heavy rain coming down.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So the hurricane's over by Tampa right now. But there's supposed to be like a 14-foot storm surge water here coming up tomorrow around noon. Not 14 feet for us, but we're supposed to get a lot of water. We're not used to.
Well, isn't Florida known for this sort of nonsense?
Yeah, but we're in Tennessee, so Chattanooga is not known for that kind of nonsense.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hey, Sabrina.
Nice to meet you. Do you have FaceTime?
Come say to Alex.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. Nice to meet you.
Awesome.
Hello.
To this other video, I think it'll look better. Here we go. There. Let's see this one here. This one looks better.
Yeah, we can see both of you.
All right. So,
Awesome.
congrats, Sabrina, on a high-ticket coaching program. I imagine you got a lot of these wealthy parents that'll pay anything for their children.
Yeah.
So help me understand, what's the overall package, and what is it that motivates these parents? Like, what's the thing that causes them to want to sign up with you?
Right. Before I begin, what do you know about NIL Roadmap so I could make sure we're on the same page?
I know a lot about NIL from the last few years and how the rules have basically changed to allow, it's a free for all basically. I was a student athlete before, but as an amateur before the NIL rules came through. But I don't know much about the roadmap you have for your program.
Gotcha. What sport did you play?
Cross country and track.
Oh, okay. What? I'm guessing you're like long distance?
And not basketball. Yeah. I was never athletic enough or like tall or fast or whatever, but I could run a 407 mile, and I could run.
There you go.
I could run 10 miles in under 50 minutes. Not many people can do that.
No, that's true. How about Alex? You're a runner too?
Actually, yeah, but not as fast as Dennis. I was a 5 mile, but yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, more about NIL Roadmap, and to answer your questions, Dennis, NIL, because it's still new, everyone's trying to figure out how do you do it. It's the trigger term where everyone's like, cool. And now they're, especially in the college athlete space, where it's like, okay, there's NIL. But lots of people don't realize it's nothing new. It's been around to the college athletes. And so there's a lot of components that go with that. You have the social media side of it, where it's like, okay, you have to create your personal brand, create content, be consistent with the content. And then you have to also make a pitch deck and pitch yourself to brands and convince them why they should work with you and stay on your rates. And then you have the other side of it, well, while you're doing both of that at the same time, you're still a full-time student athlete. It's a lot to deal with. And imagine doing that as a parent who probably also has a full-time job.
Yeah.
And so that's why these parents are really willing to work with NIL Roadmap, because we're giving their time back essentially and doing all for them. The 4 core areas that we focus on is 1, social media strategy. We help do the whole social media piece for them. It's white glove service, so they don't have to do it. And we have a team that's well versed and are experts in that industry. Next is NIL governance. With all these rules that are ever changing, we want to make sure we stay compliant so that they're eligible for college, because we work with high school student athletes. The next is recruiting. And I mean this in 2 different ways. Recruiting in the sense of actually getting you recruited to college, but also sponsorships. So you can get deals while you're still in high school. The last is mentorship, where we pair up high school student athletes with current collegiate athletes to expand their network, and so that they can learn from them. That's really what NIL Roadmap is in a nutshell.
Very polished, Sabrina. I like the 4 points. I like how clear you are. I like how weaving in mentorship and the 2 kinds of sponsorship and their personal brand and social media and white glove done for you makes so much sense, because parents are overwhelmed. They know that their kids can be successful. Maybe they won't make it as a professional athlete, but having those brand connections and the resume and the extracurriculars to get into the right colleges and everything like that, they'll pay a lot of money to set up their kids for success to stand out.
Right. And I agree. And a little story on that, you can do it all as a parent yourself and not pay for anyone to do that. But then even with all the time and effort you put into doing it yourself, it may not be enough.
Yeah. And high net worth parents don't try to do it themselves. They hire experts and they'll pay anything. And then when there's many kids, they'll pay for it multiple times, as I've seen with other high ticket coaches. I know folks that charge $100K to coach high school kids to be successful.
And what?
Test prep. Like Dan Euland, who's elite student coach. He's in Planet Perry. I don't know if you're in Perry Marshall's programs, but there's folks like that. And Mark Lack did that with celebrity kids who maybe weren't the most successful, but mommy and daddy had a lot of money and they just didn't have time and they had a lot of staff. There were also privacy issues because when you're an A-list celebrity, right, there's certain things that you have to be cognizant of, and you have homes all across the world, you know, that sort of thing. So being able to work with those kinds of families who are often very exclusive and they follow what other families are doing. I'd imagine a lot of what you get is through recommendations, through referrals, through existing clients.
Right.
Just super important. So the more you have your program standardized on what those 4 pillars are, what they can expect, it's less about, well, you could try to do it all yourself, and more about there's trust because these other parents that I respect are also doing this with their kids.
Exactly that.
I mean, it's not to say you don't deliver great results, but people in that world make decisions based on other people that are like them.
Very true. And I like that you hit it right on the head, because with something like this, that is our target niche. And if we're talking to one parent that their kid goes to a fancy private school, odds are if they see what we're doing with their kid, they're going to be curious and try and get their kid involved too, because they're surrounded by other people in our ideal audience.
What does it cost to go to Belmont for 4 years if you add that up?
4 years, it's $69K a year. 69 times 4.
It's $280.
Yes.
Plus everything else. Plus it might not be only 4 years. Plus, yeah. If you're looking at $500,000.
No, you live in Nashville, so you have to go experience Nashville, of course.
So all in, these people are already qualified. And also, they're not going there unless they're competitive. And if they believe that, because you're offering something that's beyond, okay, my kid's trying to be a pro athlete, or beyond, hey, I want to get into the top college or get great grades or good test scores. There's something deeper about my child is successful in many ways. And I think that's really what these parents are really paying for, is my guess. Based on my experience, your angle might be different, but that's what I've seen of anyone that charges $50, $100K per kid for these programs. That X factor is, I believe my child is a leader, and leadership means they're going to be mentored by the best. They're going to mentor others. They're going to be exposed to people who are in the top echelon in business and sports and that kind of access. That's why business people pay for masterminds. It's the same kind of thing. They want to have people. I know I'm stereotyping, but wealthy parents will pay anything. I just talked with Daryl Isaacs, who's made $1 billion as an attorney, and he'll pay anything for his kid, Lee Isaacs. This guy's trying to be a star musician, right? And this guy is hooking him up with left and right with everything you can imagine, right? Like just unfair advantages. So the idea of being elite, especially as it relates to personal branding and social media and whatnot, I think most parents and most kids would think, oh, it's number of followers, it's being verified, it's being featured in these various places. It's these superficial sorts of things. And what Egbert was saying yesterday was, well, what if there was a standard? What if we could use the actual number, the confidence score that Google shows for that particular person? What if we could actually show the keywords that they could rank up? What if we actually showed the real media mentions, not the garbagey ones, not just some like who's who in high school that you just pay like $500 to be in the directory kind of, you know what I'm talking about? That nonsense.
Right.
Yep. What if there was the real stuff? What did you call it, Egbert? Not the Carfax, but like the
FICO score.
The FICO score. Yeah, like that. It's not by the government or by the banks, but
Right.
That's
Which,
shit.
which a lot of people don't realize FICO score is the Fair Isaac score. First of all, nobody opted in for that. Second
Right.
of all, it's not government run. It's a private entity. And that's why
I
there's
know.
three of them,
I
right?
actually I did a private training for the five PhDs that are in charge of calculating the FICO score.
Okay.
And the reason why Fair Isaacs came to me was they wanted to use social media data as a way to help calculate FICO score. Because I've
Interesting.
shown through, this was 10 years ago. It was probably one of the most intense workshops I've ever done. I've taught a lot of workshops, but this one had the most scrutiny because I knew the people that were coming, they're all PhDs. And not because they're PhDs, but because these guys are just, they're super, super smart. And they were, I was showing them how you can use the Facebook graph to figure out when someone might be in debt or credit card trouble or whatnot based on, anyway, that's a whole nother rabbit path, but
You were opening up the keys to the kingdom for those guys. That's why.
well, it worked until Facebook changed the Open Graph protocol. Prior to 2.0, you could pull all that information out of the graph. And then all this Cambridge Analytica stuff happened, and then they shut that all down, and we can't get that anymore. And private tokens are dead. Like we used to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's always constant is going to be change. And one thing we can also depend on Google is not to completely monetize the beautiful things that they've made, because for whatever reason, when they roll stuff out, it doesn't do as well commercially as it should or could, right? So in this instance, I'm excited about what you were sharing, because I don't know if I was the only one who got excited, but to me, it was like exactly Sabrina and I were having a meeting last week. We're saying, look, we know we got to come up with some kind of score because it has to be number one. It's got to be unimpeachable. It's like whatever it is, it is. It's not us saying that. It's Google exactly. Saying it, right?
Yeah.
So
otherwise, like, oh, I'm famous. Oh, I'm successful. Says what? Based on what? Says who? So I think, not to say I love your 4 pillars. I'm sure you have some kind of process on how you build out social profiles and do your thing and boost posts and make sure it's being seen and, edit videos in a certain way. I'm sure there's something very good about that. But if we can quantify this in a way that is irrefutable to say, for example, to these parents and to these kids, they're Google verified. How many people like that? That is like, you're pregnant or you're not. Like, we can clearly see you're verified or not. They the email, right? And even these people that are pros in SEO, digital marketing, social media influencer, whatever they call themselves, they don't even know what Google verified means, right? Correct. 2, they've claimed a knowledge panel, or actually number 2, they've triggered a knowledge panel. They even have a knowledge panel. Then they claim the knowledge panel. So then you can get all the colored box. Have you Googled me, Sabrina, to see what a knowledge panel looks like and that whole thing?
Can you share that, Dennis?
Sabrina, why don't you share your screen?
I have my phone.
Okay, then can you not share your phone on there? Okay.
Here, I'll do it. I'll see if I can do it.
You share your thing and you Google me. Go to Chrome or Google whatever Google on whatever thing you want and Google my name, share the screen, and I'm going to show you what it is. And everyone should be able to get, even this guy here, Alex, has, your confidence score is what? 137 or something? It's
140.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And his score before, he didn't even exist a year ago.
Out of what?
Well, it's like a bank account number, it's like, it can be, it's not out of a certain number, but to be like a real, like a famous person, you have to be 400 plus.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can you guys see it now?
Yes.
Yeah, it says you are sharing screen. Okay.
Where'd my screen go? Oh, here we go.
All right. So that's the mobile knowledge panel. And you can see those kind of, pink boxes there. And you saw these pictures. There's some factual information. So what a knowledge panel does is Google's showing the facts about somebody. Like, I was born October 6th. Yes, I'm a best-selling author. That's provable. Yes, I have a certain number of followers. Yes, I was at McDonald's a couple days ago. Okay, so keep scrolling. And they're associating all these facts together. Now, Sabrina, when you're doing all this social media stuff, maybe building a website, maybe highlighting their achievements, right? All this stuff should start showing up, not just across social, but across any entity that's associated with them. So because I have an object ID, kind of like a social security number for Google, I'm intentionally tying all those items together because I want Google to see that this Dennis Yu is the one we're talking about. Because there's a lot of people with my same name, right? But because I've trained Google, because of schema, because of all these different ways of representing our data, claiming the knowledge panel, this clearly is me. So if you keep scrolling down, you'll see like all the stuff that I have. Just keep scrolling and keep scrolling. Yeah, there's all this stuff. And then it'll show, there's my website, there's the book. Now, see there, people also look at Neil Patel, Rand Fishkin, these other people, right? And then there's the people also ask, what's the most common question? They want to know what my net worth is. Because I was one of the early people at Yahoo, right? And then you go down, you see dollar a day strategy, content factory, who's the CEO of Blitzmetrics, right? That these are all questions that people ask about me. So you can see if you, and then you just keep going. I own the whole, like you can scroll endlessly for miles and I dominate this thing, right?
Cool.
So
Yeah.
parents, would you like your child to be able to dominate the search results? Go back up to the very top. Isn't it so much more powerful when your student, athlete, performer, musician, debater, whatever it is, if this shows up instead of some random thing or just their LinkedIn profile? Isn't that so much better?
Mm.
Okay. Now, Egbert, type in Blitzmetrics knowledge graph. And I'm making sure everything is searchable, right? How do you find something? Well, our test is if it's not Googleable, then we didn't do a good job, did we?
Knowledge graph.
Knowledge graph. Because Google's database is called a knowledge graph. And all the objects are, things, people, whatever it is. Look at those two ads at the top. Go past the ads, 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 ads. Wow, a lot of
Wow,
ads.
that's a lot.
Okay. So there's our guide on how to claim it. And do the one X. Go get the post I made about that.
This
Go
one?
find your knowledge panel and claim it. Click on that. Okay, now click on that link. Scroll down and then type in anyone's name. Your name, Sabrina's name. Okay, so there's 5 Sabrina Oostbergs. First one's got a 199. That's pretty good. Is that yours? Click on that. See on Google. And you see that ID, Sabrina?
That's me.
Okay. And you have a partial knowledge panel, but you don't have all the colored boxes, right?
Right.
You see you still have one. So to the right of her name, see the triple dots? Click on that. Claim this knowledge panel. Now you've not claimed it, Sabrina. Now imagine that
Oh,
we get all these other kids to be notable. So you're notable enough that your stuff is there, right?
right.
But maybe some of these other Belmont kids, maybe they've achieved some stuff, but it's not showing up on Google. If we can get this stuff to show up across social media and whatnot to then show up on Google, then we'll have enough to trigger a knowledge panel, and then we can claim the knowledge panel and then tie that in with everything you're doing. So the more content and whatnot you produce in parallel, we can do our sort of knowledge panel thing, which means build a personal brand website, put all the information there, link it together, that sort of stuff, right? But we can't, or you can't, I believe, credibly offer a service unless you yourself have demonstrated that you've gone through it and have done it yourself, right?
Right.
You'll be more knowledgeable. Plus, I think it's not ethical to talk about something if you haven't done it yourself, so we would want to have, do all these things for you. And then you can show off yourself and show off these other kids. And then all the other parents are going to want to have it like this too, right?
I like that. That's very smart.
Yeah. And then you just offer that as part of your service, and our VAs and our people do all this stuff behind the scenes. We are just part of your team. And if for some reason they need to pull in any of us or even pull in me, then I'm just one of your associates or whatever that you tap into a Zoom call or whatever it might be. Yeah, it's probably not even necessary because we document the heck out of everything. But
So once you go to that Google one after you press the claim thing,
Mhm.
it's not just a sign up, but there's a lot that you guys have to do behind the scenes to make it SEO searchable.
it's not a lot, but if you don't fill it out the right way, they could reject you. Plus, just because you've claimed it and you've gotten verified, that's not the end of it. You have to update it, maintain it. You have a partial knowledge panel. We would like to get a full knowledge panel. We would like to increase your confidence score by getting more citations. We need to build out a proper personal brand website so that the website's ranking #1. And then that's what we call the entity hub. So think of the big wheel and there's the hub. So the hub is your personal brand website. And we created a platform that generates the website. Then our VAs come in and add all this information and link it all together the right way. And then when you have the best posts, certain achievements, a great video, maybe they gave a speech, maybe they write a book, like Alex just published his book today to Amazon, right?
Congrats.
Thank you.
And we would run dollar a day ads against it. So we would boost it on Facebook, Instagram, Meta, whatever you want to call that, boost it on YouTube. And that could go to the recruiters or the admissions office at this list of universities. You can micro-target like that, right? We could micro-target friends in their city. We could micro-target, yeah, just like what he's showing there. So the structure of their topic wheel has to be built out. So we would want to make sure for this to work for us. Look at this, Egbert. You're like on top of your thing. That's great. So my hope is, Sabrina, that the process you have for onboarding these student athletes includes figuring out kind of what their why is and what they want to be known for, personal and professional topics, and visible proof that they actually do the thing they say they do. And maybe interviews that they have with other people. So they're kind of like, we establish a podcast in their name, if you know what I mean. And that way there's all this associated content that helps us from a Google standpoint associate their entity object, their person with the topic, with people who are knowledgeable and successful in that topic, like the coach of the team. Like, let's have a 5-minute interview with the coach of the team. And what do you think about the season? And what do you think, blah, 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 It's also enhancing their communication skills. They put that on LinkedIn. Like, there's many ways to reuse that. But for us, we would want to put that on their personal brand website, tie it together with LinkedIn, YouTube, and whatnot, run $1 a day against the best ones. And that sends a signal to Google because, Google looks at the Chrome history. It looks at the actual click behavior inside Chrome. And when we run $1 a day traffic against that, like against YouTube, which is Google, then that increases our SEO in a legitimate way. So it's not PR. I mean, it is kind of PR, but really it's a secret way to do SEO. If that makes sense. Yeah. And I'm a search engine engineer, so I'm telling you, it's legit. And I've talked to other folks at Google. I talked to the search quality. It's legit.
Dennis, you don't have to. We know it's legit because otherwise you wouldn't be doing it, right? I mean,
Right,
that's the whole point, right?
Because if I did anything that wasn't legit, I would be crucified.
Yeah.
The whole industry would say, "Look at what he's doing. He's doing this."
Yeah, they would stop having you come over and talk to 50,000 people at a time. I get it. No.
I'm actually the worst one to try to do any of that because if I can't break any of the rules, right? You just can't.
Right. Yeah. Well, but that $1 a day makes sense, right? Because what you're doing is you're actually spending, so you're within the terms and conditions of what you're doing. Because I'm just doing what you're telling me to do. It may not be a $10,000 spend, but in some instances it might be, depending on what it is. It's going to help, right? So if our athlete happens to be at one of the top, they make it to regionals or they're going to nationals. Yeah, we're going to spend more money on that. In fact, we'll just go ahead and get a sponsor, spend more money. They can become the sponsor for that event. They could put in the budget to help get, blow it out. Plus, now they're
that's where it becomes profitable. Now, the core, the most basic initial starting point of $1 a day is only $7 per post because it's $1 a day for a week, right? Which you should be able to do. Like we're testing things here and there for $7 at a time, very easy. But if we're doing this because we want to get a sponsorship from a sports drink or a shoe company or whatnot, we can target executives who handle sponsorships at Nike in Beaverton, Oregon, right? We can target the merchandising people at Walmart in Bentonville, Arkansas. We can target, whatever fitness protein powder company or people who also like so-and-so as an athlete. We can do that kind of targeting and spend more than $1 a day. We can spend $10 a day, $20 a day, because we can see what the ROI is on the sponsorship revenue. But until they get one sponsor, I don't believe in putting a lot of money into sponsorship because the whole system needs to be a profitable system, right?
Right. So it's like priming the pump in a way, right?
Yeah, you need to have one sponsor first because then you can talk about that sponsor. Because then when potential sponsors see that there's it's like no one wants to go into the restaurant where it's totally empty and there's no one there at any of the table. As long as there's like a couple people eating at the restaurant, that's like, oh, I might walk in. And that's the way I look at it for sponsors, right? We did this for the Golden State Warriors. So we ran their ads for 5.5 years in their analytics, but we also did the stuff for Uber and United Airlines and what was the chicken wing place, and like these different places. We managed all of those ads because they had sponsor deals with the Warriors. So we were kind of like this secret agency of these huge other brands because of our relationship with the Warriors. The way we did that was we had to craft the right kind of content, to get more sponsors. So we would target the folks who run marketing and PR at Ben and Jerry's and show like, here's what the other sponsors are doing when you buy a luxury box, right? Or when you have the balloons drop down with like the coupons from McDonald's, or you have your name on the stadium, it was the Chase Stadium, all of that stuff. So to get more sponsors, but also to show the ROI to sponsors, because sponsors, when they pay, they don't know what they're doing. They think like, oh, I'll just pay you like $10,000 to make like X number of posts. And then it's done. It dies because there's no ROI. If you teach, Sabrina, these athletes to work with sponsors in a certain way, in a more agency-like way, then I'm a prima donna and here's my price, $5,000. I'll make 5 posts and that's it. Then you have an ongoing ROI, especially if you integrate advertising into the sponsorship. So now they're looking at how much traffic they got. We're measuring the results. We're doing all kinds of agency-like things that they would never expect an influencer to do, if you know what I mean. That's where I think that's where you get the real sponsorship dollars, right?
Right.
But most of these guys don't know how to do that because they don't even go all the way back to they're still in the, oh, I want to stay at the hotel for free and get the product for free. And I'm still in school, which is fine, but they don't, you know what I mean? You got to think like a business person.
Right. Because they're just the athlete. That's all they know how to do, and that's all they're told to be. And so really changing the narrative is like, you're not just an athlete. You can be
And the
creative.
athlete, and the parents, they don't even know what to charge. They're like, well, how much should we charge? Oh, well, how big is it? It's Gatorade. Well, we'll charge them $100,000 then, you know? Yeah, well, based on what? What are you going to do for them?
Right. No, I love that. And obviously you've been doing this for quite some time because I like the way you explain it. Just
I've done a lot in pro sports.
I saw your LinkedIn.
I know. Steph Curry gave me a burrito from Chipotle. I remember I was in the Warriors office and we were there having a meeting. Steph Curry walks into the conference room. He's got a box with burritos. Says, hey guys, I just wanted to pop in and say hi. So he handed a Chipotle burrito to each of us. And I said, what are you doing here? Did you pay for these burritos? And they're all the same. They're all like, you know, but I appreciate the thought. Like he did it. And he said, I just wanted to thank you guys because I know you're driving all these ticket sales. I don't understand all this digital marketing, social media stuff that you guys are doing, but I really appreciate it, you know, and I just wanted to come by and say hi.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So there's moments like that. Yeah. Anyway, that doesn't mean anything. It's neither here nor there. But I understand like what it's like from the athlete side because they see that there's this kind of marketing machine of the sponsors, of the teams, of like these big organizations like the university, which now operates more like pro sports. The big universities they're like real commercial teams now instead of like some like high school sort of thing, right? And they don't know how to deal with that. And they think it's either you're LeBron James or you're nobody. There's so much in between on that.
Right. Well, there's a lot. There's numbers between that.
But they think generally, and I've done this enough times that I can tell you that they so much think it's this influencer marketing thing, and I really it's not that. It's not how many fans you have and how much traffic you have and how important you are. It's what value can you add for them in an agency-like way. And how do you measure that value? And it better not be on the number of posts you make per month. And
Correct.
It better include advertising. Like, yes, I'll make these posts, but first, before we make these posts, let's talk about, you know, the intersection between why your fans really like your brand and the intersection with my brand and what kind of content, what kind of activations, not just like, I'm going to use the product and say, hey, I use these insoles and I can jump higher and dunk now. Like that's an obvious testimonial that's going to get you in trouble eventually because you're making claims, right? But like telling a story about, hey, here's how I learned how to dunk for the first time. And here's the plyos that I do. And I'm also using these Victory insoles. And hey, if you want to learn how to jump higher, why don't you put your email in? And by the way, I'm sponsoring a 6-week. You can add 5 inches to your vertical jump program, courtesy of Victory insoles. Come and join me. I'm going to teach you how to do this. I'm going to give you the exercises that I used to learn how to, you know, see now like, oh, that's real value. That's not just some like, you can tell that guy was paid to promote this protein shake, you know?
Right.
For being interrogated to hold the product.
And you can tell it's fake. And it's not real. And the fans know it's not real. It's bad for everybody. And then they're not, if you find one that works and it's evergreen, which is what I like to do. I don't like to do stuff for events like for the Super Bowl or for like, I don't like that because it dies. I like evergreen. Then they'll continue to put money against it. And the sponsor will continue to pay. Like I always like to negotiate deals where, okay, yeah, we have the initial sponsorship thing, but there has to be an ongoing component because that creates the LTV, right? But none of these athletes really understand. Like very rarely do these athletes understand this. Because the parents especially are just trying to say, well, how much money can they pay? I just want to know how much money they can pay.
Yep.
That's not how it is. We need to create some value. Let's do something small for $5,000 for this, you know, vitamin IV company, whatever. And if it works well, they'll keep paying us another $5,000 a month. But we better demonstrate that when we boost those posts, like, you know, on TikTok, you can do Spark ads, right? I wrote a best-selling book on social media on this. You know this? Have you seen this, Sabrina?
Is it? Watch this.
Yeah, do you have it?
She may or may not have.
There, this one. Yeah.
I took 4 other copies.
Good. I appreciate that. But right? If they
Yeah.
okay, but you would teach as part of your build out, imagine your process, you would create a business profile for them on Facebook so we can boost it. Same thing on TikTok, learn how to run Spark ads and say, hey, if you're working with sponsors, you already pre-make this thing and put it on their website and whatever, like, hey, if this is how I work with sponsors. So that way they know that that athlete is actually business minded, not some kid. Because me coming from the other side of finding the athletes for the brand to sponsor, it is a nightmare trying to work with these kids.
Right, because they're not sophisticated.
Because I've come from the other side.
Right. They just want the free stuff and then they don't respond.
Right. And we just need them to operate in a more business-like way.
So Dennis, you kind of hit on something that we've also are working on. Part of us being at DealCon is looking for an agency that we could buy and then converting them into a TikTok agency ultimately, because that's where the bigger return is going to be.
Right.
But ultimately the agency now becomes it gets folded into the NIL roadmap.
Right.
In that all these pieces are being done and managed by NIL roadmap through the TikTok agency.
Right.
And that way we can also now in aggregate now, when we do go to a sponsor, it's like we got 20 people here. Which tier are you looking for based on the sport or whatever makes sense for that brand, so on and so forth.
So I think you should build the agency in-house instead of acquire an agency. Maybe you could acquire, but there's pros and cons to this. I mean, I was at Tom's DealCon, whatever, last year too. I think that if Sabrina can have like the proper scale out would be like 3 or 4 account manager level people that are more like talking to the parents, talking to the sponsors and the students, like coordinating Zoom calls. And then on the back end, 5 or 6 VAs that are handling the creative and the website and the VA kind of like not talking to client kind of stuff, right? Project man. I think that would be all you really need. And from there, you could scale to hire more VAs and account managers because then you have the process in place. How big is your team now, Sabrina?
Me.
See, now I think the next step then is
to acquire some employees.
I don't like the word employee, but
they're more like
team members.
Team members. Thank you. Yeah, that's right. Not third world laborers or anything like that. But
yeah, it sounds like that, but really utilizing their skills so they can maximize learn and so that we can help each other grow.
Exactly. And who cares what country they're from?
Yeah.
And Sabrina, you might want to pull up just that one slide or two regarding who your team members are, because you've given thought to what that needs to look like. Because Dennis mentioned, 3 people, account managers, and 5 VAs. Sabrina came up with a really interesting model because we are working with high school athletes and their families. So go ahead and share that piece, and then whatever other questions we might have, I want to end up at least with what's the next steps to working with you guys? Because I mean, it makes total sense to us. I think it makes sense to you. Otherwise, you would be on the phone. And yeah, let's figure this out.
I love working with student athletes. There's a lot of cool potential. Like you, Sabrina, and Alex. This guy he's only played golf, a couple times?
4 times.
And he was hitting a pitching wedge 160 yards.
Really?
Yeah.
It was crazy. I didn't have it on video, so I can't prove it, but he outdrove me on a bunch of those holes. And I played a lot of golf.
We'll have to do it again then.
Yeah. I just want you guys, I feel like if it wasn't captured on social media, it didn't happen. So, yeah, but I'm telling you, it did. I saw it.
It hasn't been indexed.
Google doesn't know about it. It's not in the knowledge graph yet. Anyway.
Yeah. Org chart?
You're going to show a document.
No. Yeah, you were going to show the Sherpa model?
I can't pull it up on the phone.
Okay.
To have the Sherpa.
But it's a mentorship model. Is that what you're doing? Because eventually you're going to have these kids mentored by other kids who went through the program, right?
Yes.
I have an idea what that might look like, but that makes sense.
Well, and so talk about how the mentorship is one piece, and that's the, athlete on athlete, right? Mm-hmm. The Sherpa model is a little bit distinct because, go ahead and talk about the Sherpa. What does the Sherpa do?
I told you about our Sherpas?
No, yeah. No.
I'm sure you're familiar with a Sherpa, correct?
Yeah, I want to climb Everest one day. Not have them carry everything, but no, like me.
Exactly what you describe. We have that in mind, but different terms. Mm-hmm. So instead of a community manager, we call them the Sherpas. Mm-hmm. This is direct access from the student athlete and their families to someone in our company, they talk to the Sherpas.
Mhm.
The Sherpas are the one who do the initial assessment on the student athletes and their families to really figure out all the questions you ask, their why, what they do, what they want to achieve, who they are, what's the brand that they want the world to know about,
Mhm.
what are the values. They are our empathetic leaders and listeners who drive out all this information so we could really understand what does this athlete and their family want to achieve and how can we do that. And then they communicate this to the team of the social media managers, and they help them make the results.
Then what are the other roles then?
And the other parts, I'll toss that to Egbert.
The Sherpa is really like a super powered account manager.
Yeah,
Right.
In fact, she's already got several folks that actually even fit the bill because that when she put a call out on LinkedIn. She got, I don't know how many you got, Sabrina.
It wasn't over 40 people who applied for social media managers.
So are these full time, or are these more like rev share coaching things?
Full time.
Okay.
Yeah. So the idea is to get, we still have to figure out full COGS, right? Cost of goods. But the idea is to have the Sherpa handles the family and the athlete, and that's a full-time gig. So, older mom type person in the 40s that.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, because first you got to make sure that the athlete's paying attention, right? It's like, so if mom's telling you need to post, you got to post, right? But then also stern enough to keep level setting mom and dad, right? Because mom and dad have always been, they always get what they want, but in this instance, it's going to take time, and therefore stern but fair, and still being able to manage that relationship, right? Because they are paying $5,000 a month. Okay. Then on the flip side, we got the social media managers, to your point, VAs. They're the ones who are, managing the accounts, having to grab all the content that's being created from the athlete, right? Because it still has to come from the athlete. So they have access to their accounts to be able to do what they got to do. On the tech side, still haven't figured out exactly what that has to be. We were going to have the social media company that we were going to bring in.
Have more VAs. Just have technical VAs.
Okay, then you have technical VAs.
Yeah, we can give you the training on that or help you find them.
Yep.
Train them. And then, probably better to train them, but yeah.
Yeah, and then that's it on that side, right? And then fairly lean. And then on the flip side, we need to look bigger than we are. And so already Sabrina's got one of her folks from Meta when she did the program through Meta. One of the things you haven't had a chance to give her full CV, but she's selected out of 3,000 folks that did the Meta's first intern NIL like 2 years ago. And out of 3,000, she's one of the 30 that got selected. During the program, she distinguished herself by being one of 30 the program. And that enabled her to win an award, and she went to Vegas, all this good stuff. But now they've called her up to be a coach for this next crop of folks, which now I guess they have twice as many, Sabrina.
And now they do that with the NCAA.
Wow. And you're documenting this journey too?
Yeah. I needed some more of it. I'm late on my post to announce that.
Wow. Where's your social media manager to help you with that? Come on now, Egbert. Come on, let's go.
Great question.
No kidding.
That's why this really all came from a personal story of the fact that I've done this all myself. So I know what it's like to be a student athlete and have to.
You don't have to tell me.
But I don't have to tell you. And so it's funny because I was having some conversations with some other people today, and they're asking me, so what's NIL? I'm like, well, how much time do you have?
Right.
So many different parts to that question.
NIL roadmap needs to be a book.
And we have some plans for that. Let me tell you.
Yeah, no, people have plans, but they never do it.
Oh, this is the plan, Dennis.
Okay.
Many podcast series.
Okay.
About Bix. Extract these podcasts and turn these podcast series into chapters of the book.
Somebody's done that before, huh?
Yeah. She may have heard that from one of her advisors that heard it from somebody else on stage.
Someone has maybe done that 17 times. Someone also may have the number 1 free ebook website with 1 million visitors per month from Google that has a domain rating of 75.
Yeah, I wonder who that is.
Alex.
I'm joking with you.
It's an unfair advantage. I don't mention that part, but yeah, I can feature authors on my free ebook site. We're going to take his book and also make him a featured author.
Awesome.
Yeah. But when do you want to book?
What was the question?
When do you want to launch the book?
I think either as soon as possible or make it a nice Thanksgiving book.
I think before Thanksgiving, because once the holidays and all that happens and New Year's and weight loss, like you can't do anything until the end of January. So it's either
Right.
now or you have to wait another 3 months.
Right.
How many podcasts do you need, guys?
Ideally, 6 to 10. So just do 2 or 3 a day for this next week, and then we can just wrap it up.
How many do you got already, Sabrina?
0. I have
No.
a podcast, but
Where you been interviewed? Like where people are interviewing you?
I have about 5.
5. Okay, but I imagine a lot of that is overlapping, telling the same story over and over again in different ways. So let's call that 1 or 2. Let's call that 1.5. Okay. Once we like squish it down, there's probably it's like cotton candy. Squish it down. There's like only this much, right?
Right. Squishing it down, I call it 2.
Okay, let's call it 2. So do you have another 10 people you can reach out to that you think are authoritative, part of your topic wheel? Because what we're doing is demonstrating your model so that all the other parents are like, I want to have my kid be like Sabrina too. So if you had another 10 people, you could probably get most of them knocked out in the next week, right? Everybody's got 30 minutes. It's not like you have to go on for an hour, right? And then stick all of those Zooms or whatnot into a folder, give it to us and we'll do our thing and get your book published a week after that. And then you can always release a second edition a few months later. You can always, let's just get the first edition out, right?
Going back to the recording side of it, you mentioned recording on Zoom. You don't use
even better. In person's better, but some people are just not in the same city.
But you don't record on Riverside if you're familiar with that podcast.
Yeah, the trouble is, like a couple times I've done Riverside, and even though it's got that whole catch-up thing where supposedly you keep it open until I've lost a couple episodes with some people who are a really big deal in the world of business. And the Riverside engineers were never able to recover that. So ever since then, I've been gun shy about Riverside. And I've been on Riverside 60, 70 times.
Dang,
So I know all the major platforms.
I didn't know that.
And it's happened to other people too. Like I understand the pros and cons and, the remote recording is always nice with 4K and all that. But, I think if you can just do it on Zoom and make sure the other person has a decent microphone, then you're good.
For the book, you only need the transcript.
That's true. But we also like to repurpose the video into YouTubes and all that stuff too.
Right. Like right now, I'm training one of my friends to be my podcast assistant so she could handle all that.
And yeah, perfect. Deputize all these other people. The other thing too, when you interview someone in a podcast, the pros know that it's at the end of the podcast that you do the intro and the promo. Because after you've had the conversation, A, you're warmed up, B, you already know what you talked about, and then C, you can say, guys, if you want to know how your students can win in the NI landscape and get sponsors, tune in to this episode of me and Sabrina because we talk about this, this, and this. Guys, I just had an amazing talk with Sabrina, and she talked about how she was able to win one of 30 spots out of blah, blah, blah with Meta, learn blah, blah, blah now. So those promos and shout outs you do with the guest right then, not later. Because then I do a shout out, you do a shout out, we go back and forth for like 2 minutes. And now those are bumpers, like movie trailers to promote the movie, to get people to watch the podcast. So now you've repurposed into a YouTube. It's a chapter inside the book. It's social media snippets. Like you've got all different combinations of things, right? But people who interview other folks on Zoom or in a podcast studio, they don't know how to do that. Once the podcast is over, it's like, oh, Alex was a great podcast. Well, thank you so much. Where can people find you?
Yeah.
Oh, you can find me on LinkedIn. Oh, great. Thank you for being on the show. And they end it. What a disaster, right? They don't know any better. No, you go into promo at the end, right? Because let's say you produce the book and let's say the book is amazing. Guess what? The marketing the book is 3 times the effort. Writing the book, getting the book out is not the work. The work is in the promotion of the book. So if you've chosen those other people that are co-authors or contributors in the book, your marketing's already built in, Sabrina. Because you choose a well-known coach, you choose the president of Belmont, you choose whoever daddy can get you in contact with, or you've got a great connection networks, so-and-so vice president at Meta, you interview them about the program and how the second batch and what the goals are in a podcast-like way. Now these people are contributors. And so when you publish the book, you can say, hey, so awesome, Dr. So-and-so, you're chapter 5 in the book, right? And now they want to promote it and they put it on LinkedIn. They say, hey guys, I'm chapter 5 in the book. And, now you promote that, right? You see what I'm saying? That's the marketing of it. When you build it into the creation of the book, your marketing is already done for you. That's what closes high ticket.
Right.
People all talk to each other,
All the time.
especially like the rich Indian moms. No, I'm serious.
It's a big group. Yeah.
I come from a Chinese family, so all the Chinese parents would get together on the weekend and they were vicious. They would compare the grades and this sort of thing. I know it's a stereotype, but it's true. I promise you it's true.
That's not a stereotype. Yeah, we're Hispanic, that we don't compare the grades. We should.
And plus, you're a great avatar, right? You fit all of these things, not because we're trying to like DEI your way up there, but it's just, why not take advantage of every angle you have?
Thank you for all the knowledge. Yes. I'll start scheduling out this week.
Yeah. So you want the next step?
Keep going. Yeah, you're on a roll.
I want you to be the star poster child for your NIL roadmap. So you have to check all the boxes with your personal brand and your socials. Publish exactly this. I mean, roadmap already implies I can see a Candyland path 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the big pot of gold at the end or whatever. That includes the book. That includes dollar a day to promote it. All of this. We would supply the initial VAs, and maybe some of them we can give you at the end if you like them. And I think we could get it done, most of it, in 6 to 10 weeks. The front end being most of the work because you got to give us the content, the ingredients for us to work. We're chefs, but you have to give us the ingredients. Okay. You have to bring stuff. So we have something that we've done for some friends of mine that we haven't, it's not a package I promote, but I call it Express Personal Branding. And I think I've got it listed at 6 to 8 weeks. It's blitzmetrics.com/EPB. And there's a whole document behind it. It's our personal brand course behind it. So that way you can see exactly what it is. You can do it yourself too. I mean, some people, they just want to do it themselves. That's fine too. Download the whole thing. EPB. And I think this could be you, Sabrina, where we build out all these documents for you. And I explain how all these things tie together, your why, what, and how. And you can see all these other people that are super well known that talk about this and say how amazing this is. None of this is AI. This is all years ago.
Yeah.
But as part of it, we want to see if you have media, podcasts, speaking, schools that you're working with, get the book out there. We want to document all these other pieces because then all these other parents can see this is not theoretical. This is actually how it's done. Oh, look, we're doing this with all these colleges. There's tons of proof of all these professors and administrators and blah, 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 dollar a day, put it out there. Topics. So what do I know about education or digital marketing? Oh, I'm associated with these people and I have lots of content to support that, which build out my brand, which instead of sponsors, drives clients, drives all kinds of other stuff, right? And we dollar a day the very best ones or put more money against it. So I think we should put your face here in the middle, figure out what your 6 topics should be, some personal and professional ones. You figure out who these other people are, some you know and some you don't know. Create enough content that we can get that book out there. And then as your business grows, we get this builds out and we build out their topic wheels at the same time. And your topic wheel, Sabrina, is the topic wheel of topic wheels, which is kind of an Inception Trojan horse kind of strategy, but in a non-evil way, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So that's what I recommend. We have a done for you program for that. And that's what this Express Personal Brand thing is. Goes through everything. Like I am the guinea pig I've demonstrated this myself and it shows you how it's done. And then we would build this, not just do it for you, but help you build this in-house in NIL roadmap and help you hire some of these VAs along the way. So that's my recommendation for you.
I like it.
After that, this is a one-time investment. After that, it's a rev share. We just share together where we're a white label for you. I understand you can charge $5,000 per month, for each of these kids on an ongoing basis or however long. I think things like this, like building a house, you charge them one fee, and that's the price to build a house.
Cool. What does my board advisor think?
Sure. I don't think I caught what's the one fee, and then what type of rev share were you looking at? What percentage?
So 10K, and this will cover 6 to 8 weeks. And rev share, we need to figure out you're building it into this 5K a month. So maybe we have to figure out exactly which of these we want on. Oh, we got to go to the airport soon too. But I think if you packaged in 15 to 20% of what you're charging, so if we said $750 of the 5,000, that should allow us to fully execute, including the cost of all the VAs and whatnot. If we absorb that full cost, if you absorb the cost, of the people, then, maybe we'd say like 5% of whatever you're charging.
Okay.
So if you want us to supply the people, or if you want us to, actually, we'll do it either way. I kind of prefer it if you supply the people, because then it's less management on us. But we're happy to do it either way. Initially, maybe you could have us do it, whatever it is.
No, initially it just makes sense, for you to do it. Well, because I want to focus, or we should be focused on client acquisition.
This is actually your way to do client acquisition when you have these things in place, because dollar a
Right.
day is your sales agent, basically.
Okay. All right then.
All right.
Sabrina, what do you think?
So I'm gonna marinate in it and think about it. But thank you for sharing more about that, and then we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, any questions? You can holler.
Great. When can we get back to you? Then are you guys traveling? I'm sure you're going somewhere tomorrow.
I'm always around. There's Wi-Fi on the airplane.
True that.
It
So-
sounds like if you want to get a book out before Thanksgiving, this is not like a false urgency, but you probably want to start now. But, I think with NIL and this thing growing, it's not like it's a, gold rush where you have to do it now. It's not like there won't be multiple leaders in this space. Parents will always care about their kids being successful in whatever it is. So it's whatever feels right for you. You let us know.
Awesome. Well, I hope you have a safe flight, and thank you for the time to just learn more about each other.
Yeah. Appreciate you.
And
Awesome.
it would love to get the Zoom recording when you get a chance, Dennis.
Yep. Well, Zoom sends it a few minutes later, so I'll text it back to you guys, or LinkedIn back in that group.
Okay, sounds great. Alex, keep beating him in golf.